Done side. Oh. Yeah, finally.
That is a beast. It's a beast. Whoa! Come to Papa.
So we're looking at the stone of the pregnant woman, also called the stone of the south, and also Hajjar Al-Hibla. So it goes by those three names. But anyway, if you're watching this video, you probably know what that stone is. It was the largest cut stone on Earth, but the one next to it in the ground is actually bigger at 1,650 tons. The stone of the pregnant woman is roughly 1,000 tons. So the one in the ground there, to the left, is bigger, and it's still sunken into the earth. So you can imagine the excavation process and the cutting that had to be done to remove these. So a bit of history. This is what they typically call Roman ruins, which is the quarry in Baalbek, where only a mile away is the temple, which is the temple of Jupiter, the temple of Bacchus, and temple of Venus. It's probably the largest undertaking the Romans ever built inside and outside of Rome. So this was very important to them. And what they actually did was build on top of an older platform. And this is what this whole theory is, that these rocks and stones were cut and transported well before the Romans. We're talking thousands of years ago by an ancient civilization. And obviously, if you're on this channel, everything that I usually talk about and show is regarding this ancient civilization, which I like to call ancient civilization times 2, just because it goes back farther than the recorded history, which is handed down from traditions and in texts. So this whole complex that we're at today is just about the quarry, where the actual massive stones came from to build the actual temple. And we'll get to that other temple, or all three of those temples, in a different video. So just about the quarry, even the caves that we see there behind the rock. It's just a complex that was probably here as a quarry, but over time, different peoples that were in the area probably just got to dig out various spots of this to live, or to maybe doing work here. So I think caves and caverns that we see behind are manifestations of just human occupation, people living in this area here. I don't think it was from the original site. Just a bit of history about the legends about who built the temple. Again, this is just the quarry, but these rocks go to the temple, or are found at the temple. So that gigantic platform that we see at the temple was supposedly, like I said, built by the Romans, because they built on top of it, and they certainly did build on top of it. But the platform itself and whatever existing structure was on top of that at the time is no longer there. We only see the Roman ruins now. So the tradition has it that Cain, from the biblical Cain, built Baalbek after he was cursed. Also built it in the year 133 of creation. That's another legend. The Arabs' legend is that Nimrod, who reigned over Lebanon, was angry at the god and built the infamous Tower of Babel. That's a very common story, and various others. You probably just saw a glimpse of Hugh Newman, which I shall give a shout out to. So it runs the Megalith-mania, and I'm going to leave some links to his site, to all of his groundbreaking work regarding megaliths all over the world. He also wrote a great article. If you get a chance to check it out, I'll leave the link to that also. It's called The Titans of Baalbek. It has to do with this specific area in Atlantis Rising magazine. So I will put those in the description. So getting back to the quarry, where we find the massive stones. And again, that stone that we're looking at right now is the 1,650 ton stone. There's another angle of it underneath. You can see that it's cut but not taken out, and most likely this area could have possibly been completely covered in Roman times. You can see it's deep into the earth as far as the surrounding area. So I got a lot of shots of the landscape to show that. So you can see the stone there, and then the actual level of where the street is and where the houses are and the buildings. This is sunken way in, and this was covered. And the only thing sticking out back in the 1900s, early 1900s, was the stone of the pregnant woman, the stone of the south that we see right there. Just a little bit of it was sticking out of the ground. So this whole area was completely covered. And there's some more shots of the caves that I was talking about, and it looks like it was people were cooking in there and living. So I don't really believe that this was part of the actual structure or the purpose, I should say. This was a quarry that needed to be quarried out to get these stones out of here to get to the platform as a mission or a job. I don't think it was done by regular sized humans that would have been even fitting in those caves to be able to cook and to live. So that whole thing I think is just it's definitely a mystery, but one will have to explore a little bit further. So the other legend about this area, and one that I like a lot, is dealing with the god Baal, Baal Hadad, which is in the Sumerian pantheon, the Enlil group of gods from the Sumerian pantheon. Enlil's youngest son was considered to be Adad, or also known as Hadad, and in turn the whole area became his area of rule, and otherwise known as Baal Hadad. And this comes down from the ancient Phoenicians, and originally from the Canaanites, who were just before the Phoenicians, and of course before that stemming from the Sumerians. So the other ironic thing about this gods list here from the Enlil family is that Shamash, the twin brother of the Sumerian Inanna, both were involved with the Epic of Gilgamesh, which ironically enough brings Gilgamesh to the Lebanon area. So that definitely has a large influence on the historical facts for this area. So therefore, Utu Shamash could have very well been the god that the Phoenician and the Canaanites called Bel-Shamin. And since the temples and construction at Baalbek were always built or dedicated to the sun god, this translated right over to the Greeks and the Romans. So we have a lot of different gods that could have been the governing god in this area. We have a lot of texts that point to the ones that I just mentioned. But the thing about the pantheons and the histories of peoples and what they wrote down, they always seems to always been merging their gods when they came in contact with other civilizations. So right there is the pillars that they call the witness pillars, and it was supposedly they are the way to back in the day, if it was Romans quarrying out of here, they would gauge how much rock was being taken out by those pillars, and that's how payment was made for the laborers. Again, I think that's not the case. They were probably just a part of this idea of what was going on here, if used for various different reasons. But we can get a glimpse here of the opposite side, and like I said, how deep this quarry actually is from the surface, and how much it was buried over the course of time. So the government here have obviously made a lot of excavations and did a great job and allow us to get in here. So it's just an awesome place to be. So the idea, getting back to the Romans so really quick, there's a diagram here of how it would have been done for them to take out the rock and transport it over to the temples. So we can see right there the rock or the stone that was taken out would have been put on a transport device, and it would have been transported to right over that house there and where those scaffolds are. So that's approximately where the temple is, and it is pretty far. But just the feat alone of just getting the rock out, and never mind on a transportation system to drag it across that entire area, would have just been incredible amount of work. And you can't take anything away from the Romans completely. As you'll see in the next video of the temples, they built some astonishing large structures, and the work that the Romans did was absolutely amazing. But the foundation is what we're talking about, that it was impossible for them to use these stones as a foundation block. It's just way too massive, as you will see. So there's a photo of me and you, Newman, in the airport waiting to get to Baalbek. And ironically, we both had the history of Baalbek in our backpacks. It was a funny moment. But anyway, definitely check out Megalith-Mania that runs these tours. They do an outstanding job. You get to places that you would never, ever, ever get to see. And we had such a blast out there in Baalbek with our whole group, with you, Newman, and JJ Ainsworth. You can see her in the back there. Yosef Elian. We had, in Egypt, we had Andrew Collins, which you got to meet and hang out with, and had a great time with Andrew, and Brian Forrester. And of course, we came over from Egypt from the previous tour before Lebanon, and that was with the Kemet School, and that was run by Patricia and Yosef Elian. And then the extension tour was with the Baalbek crew. So again, check out that the Kemet School and also Megalith-Mania. So thanks for watching this video of the Baalbek Quarry, and please subscribe so you can catch all these videos as they come out, and I will talk to you guys soon.